Biden warns Putin, not 1 inch. The finger wag comes out on the heels of Putin's big speech, a big announcement saying that he is annexing major parts of Ukraine. He says it's Russia now. All your base belong to us. That's what Putin said. He was in front of kind of an analog of a State of the Union type of presentation. You can see what that looked like here. Putin came out in front of a giant hall and he was speaking to all of the higher ups there, I guess in Russia. And he is delivering this new message. Guess what we have decided? And for context, remember that Russia said that there were just referendums in this region of the Donbass, these 4 different areas that is a highly contested region in between Russia and Ukraine. The Russians say it's ours. The Ukrainians say it's not. The Russians have control over most of this contested area. And they said, let's vote on it. Why don't we just let the people decide? Where do you want to go? Do you want to go and join the Russians or do you want to stay with Ukraine? And what Russia found, they all want to go over with Russia. And so on the heels of that amazing election, it's incredible news. Putin came out and he said, guess what, everybody? You're not going to believe it. The election results came back and they all want to join Russia. And now that the people have spoken, here's what we're doing as the Russian people. Here is Vladimir.
Of the people of Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporozhye, and Kherson, we are not going to discuss that. The choice was made, and Russia will not betray this choice.
Big crowd.
And the Kyiv authorities, they should see this expression of will with respect. And that's the only way we can reach a peaceful solution. We will protect our lands with every means we have at our disposal.
Putin saying that Kyiv better respect the will of the people. They voted, they decided. It is our land now, and we are going to be protecting our land and our people no matter the consequences. Saying, I hope, Ukraine, that you respect what the people have voted on.
And we would do everything to provide safety for our people. This is the great liberating mission of our people. We will restore destroyed cities and towns, schools, hospitals, theaters, and museums. We will restore and we will develop industrial enterprises, infrastructure, factories, social and pension support, healthcare and education. And of course, we will raise the level of security together. We will make it so that people in the new region felt the support of the entire people of Russia, of the entire country, of all the republics, of all the regions of our great.
Very energetic speech. We're going to rebuild the entire region, all of the Donbass, everything, and all the people who voted for us. They're all in alignment back with Mother Russia, and we're going to build the infrastructure, hospitals, and all sorts of necessities, including security, to improve the lives of the people there, according to Putin. And you can hear it in his voice, right? I mean, he's now saying this is our territory, this is our land, and that's the end of the story because the people have spoken. There was one clip from Putin's speech that really stuck out. On the heels of the vote that took place in the region, Putin has come out and now said that all of the citizens that are in the region are now ours, and they are ours forever, implying if you try to take over this region again, to reacquire this land, there may be some serious consequences because they'll be defending it as though it is an incursion on Russia itself.
I want Kyiv regime and their sponsors from the West to hear me, to heed me. I want everyone to remember that people who live in Donetsk and Lugansk and Kherson and Zaporozhye, now they become our citizens forever.
Ours. Kind of a pretty provocative statement there. You know, they have now joined Russia, and you can see that he's sort of bringing them into the Russian envelope. And that's a little bit different than fighting over a contested territory. They're fighting over now what is, according to them and their posture, Russian territory. So they moved the line over. The line was further near the Russian territory. They moved it into Ukraine, and they're saying this is the new baseline. That's the reunification that took place. I wasn't really familiar with Russian politics, but they do some interesting things there when they celebrate victories. You can see Putin and the individuals after they signed the documents. I believe these are the 4 men who are going to be governing or conducting the different regions that they just annexed in. And they do a very interesting chat and sort of this group high five. They seem pretty enthusiastic about their new territory. Russians celebrating. You see everybody standing and applauding. A very victorious day for them, evidently. And they have done such an amazing job of celebrating this, of bringing their country together to honor this big victory, I guess, in their eyes. You see Putin even brought a rock concert together, and he is leading the Russian people in Russian chants. Here's what that sounds like.
Команде на счет 3. Раз, два,
2,
3.
3.
Ура! Ура! Ура!
That's a lot of Russians. It's a pretty big crowd. Now, a lot of people are saying those streets have just been packed in and filled with people, bussed in. But they did bring a big concert out there, and there were Russian singers and Russian performers who were celebrating out there. I mean, they really turned this into quite an event. And that is what's being celebrated all over Russia today. And so it's hard to, of course, make determinations about what's real and what's not in any of this stuff. Big disclaimer on all of that. But it seems like their people are celebrating this as a giant victory. They're filling the streets. Meanwhile, over at the White House, we're going to check in with Joe Biden. Big questions about this. On the heels of Putin annexing very important regions of Ukraine, the Donbass area that has been the subject of a giant battle, of giant war that we've been all sort of suffering through. Tangentially, okay, I don't mean to suffer like the people who are over there suffering, but I mean, the whole war is requiring a global response. It's shifting the entire economy around this one conflict. And so many people have been saying, is this continued escalation something that is necessary? Do we need to continue to raise the stakes by exploding pipelines and by making different quick, sudden moves? Well, yeah, of course, we have to do that. Zelensky from Ukraine decided today was a great day to go and apply for membership to NATO. Here's a quick clip from Zelensky. Of course, this is going to be in Ukrainian. And so I'll play a little bit of this and just show you some of the scenery and the imagery that's used in this video, because Zelensky does a nice job at sort of assembling these different clips. Here's what he sounds like when he's delivering this message saying, the Russians have annexed a certain portion of our territory, and now we are going to be applying for NATO membership.
Ми бачимо, хто нам загрожує, хто готовий вбивати і калічити, хто не зупиняється перед
Now, he continues on in his speech, and as we progress through it, you're going to see they zoom out. And he's going to be announcing for us, along with these 2 gigantic linebackers, that document in front of him is his actual application to NATO. And so he reaches down there and he signs the document. And there we go. And so I think these are 2 military commanders also witnessing the signing of the NATO application. And then boom, that goes right in the fax machine and it lands right on the NATO desk. And they say, oh, great, another one came in. Our marketing's working. Hey, John, are you posting on social media more, or where'd this come from? And so they're very excited about the newest application. Now, to get a little bit more background on this and what Zelensky actually said, we can turn our attention over to Politico. Politico is going to be telling us that Ukraine formally applies for the fast-track NATO membership. That's exactly what we just saw Mr. Zelensky doing. This was published September 30th. It says, Ukraine on Friday formally requested that an accelerated accession to join NATO President Zelensky announced. He says, "We trust each other, we help each other, and we protect each other. And that alliance is de facto." He says today, Ukraine is applying to make it de jure. The move intended to draw attention away from Putin's elaborately staged speech earlier on in the day, where he announced the annexations to an audience seated under gilded chandeliers. And we saw the video of that. There wasn't any indication that Ukraine's request would advance, though. Those have been in limbo for years. The prospect of Ukraine joining NATO has long fueled frustration for Moscow, which regularly rails against the military's alliance. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg on Friday evening reiterated the alliance's unchanging position that it's open to new members but shied away from directly endorsing Ukraine. Says every democracy in Europe has the right to apply for NATO membership, like everybody can. Just fill out the application, just sign it. You saw how quickly they did it. It's easy. It's like 2 pages. Just flip it open, sign it open. And NATO allies respect that right. We've stated again and again that NATO's door remains open. He was, however, direct, saying that our immediate focus is on the war. And you can see the rest of the statement there from the Politico. So over at the White House, a lot of reaction because they've been very, very supportive of this war. They've been spending tens of billions of dollars sending them over there. Very concerned about that region and that border, but not so much about what's going on here at our border or our southern border, but that's okay. So Joe Biden responds. Biden in the White House gets that finger out and he says, "All right here, Putin, if you even think about crossing 1 inch into NATO territory, there's going to be big problems for you, buddy boy."
I want to say this again. America is fully prepared with our NATO allies to defend every single inch of NATO territory. Every single inch.
Every single inch.
Mr. Putin, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Every inch.
Every inch.
And I've been in close touch with our allies.
Okay.
We're announcing new sanctions today as well.
Good.
That including new authorities to sanction anyone who provides political or economic support to Russia's fraudulent territorial claims. And I've been in close touch with our NATO allies who are united in our resolve to take on his aggression.
So Joe Biden musters up enough energy to wag the finger for about 2 seconds, and then it's right back down to the notes, and it's mumbling over, "We're going to aggressive you and fight you," right? It's just like, oh my gosh. So it's pretty amazing that that's our reaction. Don't do anything. Don't cross 1 more inch. All right. I mean, I guess that's a nice talking to. The finger wag. I just don't have much optimism in the finger wag. I mean, Kamala did it with the Guatemalans. It didn't work, not even close. And so we'll continue to see how this unfolds. We know that Zelensky is not making its way into NATO anytime soon, even though that little show was intended to probably maneuver a little bit. But when you add all of this up together, when you take a look at what Putin has done, and he has said, this is our territory now. That means no more negotiations. He can't walk that back, right? Why? Because if he goes back to his people and say, "I just lost the territory that we just brought in," that's a catastrophic failure. So he is now anchored in his position at this far end of the region. Now, simultaneously, the Ukrainians have anchored in their position, saying, "We're going to NATO, you're never going to have that territory, and we're going to fight to the death to get every single square inch back." We also have a third party called the United States, and Jake Sullivan, who we heard from yesterday, who said something very similar, saying the only way that we're going to get a real remedy here, a real settlement negotiation, is if old Putin pays for his war crimes. And do you think that is even a starter for any type of negotiation in this situation? Of course not. Now you add in blown up pipelines and additional unending, limitless funding courtesy of the American people. Do we ever see an end to this conflict? Or is every single party driving us closer and closer to war? Every single person involved in this seemingly interested in a cataclysmic event. They're certainly driving us there. We'll continue to cover it. I appreciate you following us as we do. Thank you for liking this video and subscribing and sharing one of the shorts with a friend and say, "Hey, look at this short. Yeah, that's nice and fun." I appreciate that.